Help support the show by joining the Patreon or becoming a YouTube member. Also, hit that like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content.
It's finally happened. It's finally happened. Play the music. Yeah! Yeah! The Browns have finally signed a Quincy. Let's drop the bomb, man. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. For the first time since they waived Quincy Morgan back in the day, the Cleveland Browns now have a Quincy, which means it's going to be a lot of confusing tweets that get sent my way. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I can't stand Quincy. Quincy missed the tackle. People were like, you talking about Quincy? No, they talking about that Quincy. They talking about Quincy Williams, the linebacker from the New York Jets is where I'd known him from for a while. Did he get traded this year? I thought he was on the block, but I don't think he got traded. Let me see something real quick. But Quincy Williams signed here today. I think most people are going to jump to him being a replacement. No, he only played for, he played for Jacksonville first and then the Jets. He is the brother of Quinton Williams, the defensive tackle now for the Dallas Cowboys. But Quincy Williams is a linebacker. And at one point, a first team all-pro linebacker. He made first team all-pro in 2023. And it is worth noting that was when he was under Mike Rutenberg. And it's also worth noting that Mike Rutenberg, when he'd been talking to the media, then brought up Quincy Williams a lot, right? He's brought up the work that he's done with Quincy Williams. And now Quincy Williams is at this place where, he's gone through a couple of defensive systems. Those systems might not have necessarily fit him the way that he was anticipating or hoping. That meant that the play went down for him in a way that he wasn't happy with. And that meant that the price for him went down as well, which means that the Browns came in and got themselves a little value on the dollar, signing Quincy Williams as a replacement for Devin Bush. Yeah, he's getting a 2-year deal worth up to, and that's the key word, up to $17 million, which means even if he gets all of the incentives in this deal, he would be significantly cheaper than Devin Bush at $8.5 million a year. He's probably going to come in real money wise at about $5 to $6 million a year of real market value. We'll see when that comes up, but that's just my projection based on how these things usually go. And I'm going to be honest, I think he's a more capable linebacker than Devin Bush, and I think he is, in this system, better than Devin Bush. I think he's somebody who, Devin Bush wasn't going to be able to play Mike for you, right? Devin was going to be able to play Sam, and if you don't know what Sam linebacker is, it is the linebacker to the left of, he plays Sam linebacker, right? And I think Devin Bush is really good at playing Sam linebacker, but you really had no option if Carson Schlesinger couldn't play about who was going to be the Mike, right? It went to Mahmoud Diabate. And we like Mahmoud, but him as the Mike in certain situations isn't the most palatable thing. And now you have Quincy Williams, who can play the mic a little bit, right? A playmaker, a violent run defender, add some size to that linebacking room as well. I think this could potentially even be an upgrade, especially when you factor in you got Rutenberg in there, who really thinks highly of Quincy Williams. Quincy Williams is like his pet project from his time in New York. And then you also have on top of that Jason Tarver, who's one of the best linebacker coaches in all of football. And just go back and watch how impactful on a game, a down-to-down basis, Quincy Williams was, pairing him up with the instincts that Carson Schlesinger has, and most importantly, the defensive tackle play that the Cleveland Browns can offer. And you can really see the vision here for what could be a pretty special tandem in Cleveland. So that, to me, I think is extremely interesting. Getting Quincy Williams back into a system that's more reminiscent of when he was a first team all-pro player, right? Like that, we gotta keep that in focus. Like, he wasn't some kind of like just fluke Pro Bowl maker. Like, anybody can make the Pro Bowl these days, right? First team all-pro in 2023. Like, and you're getting him for $8.5 million with incentives, but more than likely $5 to $6 million a year in real money. This is fantastic. This is my favorite move that they have made so far, right? The Titus Howard one, I understand that one. Not super exciting, but it gets a job done that needed to be done. The same thing with Zion Johnson. I'm not doing backflips about Zion Johnson. There's some risk to that signing, but okay, cool, whatever. Like, you needed a young guard. You think you could turn them into something. Let's see if you're right about that. His current play hasn't been great. Quincy Williams, I mean, this was a game record. In 2023, he was a game record. I thought in 24 as well. But really, when you put him in a defense that just allows him to attack, he's very, very much a playmaker in both the pass game and in the run game. Like, he had 15 TFLs, 14 in 2024. You let this guy go downhill and attack in an attack front, he can do something with that. And I'm just excited to see with him, with two great coaches that believe in him, what he can do, and if he can get back to that form, especially with the kind of support that he's going to have in Cleveland. Like, when he was doing that stuff in 2023 and with New York, when New York had a really good defense, like, they had Quinton Williams, but they didn't really have anything else like Sauce. You know what I mean? They had Sauce, but like, if we're talking about the front seven, they didn't really have like that much to rack up your attention with, right? You look at this Browns defensive front. Mason Graham was really a force to be reckoned with in the second half of the season. You have Myles Garrett, who's a force to be reckoned with because he's the best defensive player on earth. Carson Schlesinger was the best defensive rookie on earth last year and one of the best linebackers, period, on earth. Like, you have so many things to worry about before you even get to Quincy Williams, and then Quincy Williams is going to be allowed to run free. If they were able to do what they did with Devin Bush, and before Devin Bush came here, all that he was a draft bust. What is possible with Quincy Williams when Quincy Williams, before he got here, was first team All-Pro? I love this signing. It's low risk. If it doesn't work out, it's not a big deal. It's a position you feel like you could fill. If it does work out, then all of a sudden you have the Sam replacement in Quincy Williams. You also have somebody who can show up as a Mike linebacker, as a will linebacker, who can give you flexibility at all three linebacker positions, who can stay on the field. This is the most important part. Quincy Williams can stay on the field in nickel, right? You only roll out two linebackers. He can stay on the field, right? Other linebackers had to get taken off the field in those situations, right? What got Devin Bush paid was that he stopped having to come off the field in nickel. But Quincy can come play nickel. I really like this signing, not just for the meme possibility of it being another Quincy. You know what I mean? And always going to be happy about a Quincy signing with the team as long as they don't have anything nefarious in their background, right? Or they have demonstrated themselves to be good football players, and Quincy Williams has demonstrated himself to be a physical linebacker, a good football player, somebody who has been able to make a first team All-Pro when people were with him, they knew what to do with him, and now he's back in a position where there are people who know what to do with him in the building, right? You know, the defensive coordinator is a supporter of his. We know Jason Tarver knows what to do with guys like Quincy Williams. Huge. I love this one. This is a big deal to me. There's more to talk about here. We got some details on Zion Johnson's deal and how it's going to be spread out over the next few years. So guaranteed money is basically this year and next year. It's basically a 2-year deal for Zion Johnson, right? The first year, he's going to hit about $5.1 million on the salary cap. So he's definitely going to make it through this year. When he's 28 in 2027, it's going to be about 13.5 guaranteed dollars that he's getting, but only $7.7 million on the cap. So a relatively very low cap number. And then 2028 kind of works as a de facto option year because the Browns could cut him and net about $3 million in cap savings and then also be able to spread his contract out over the next 2 years. When it comes to the salary cap, which again, remember, it rises about 7 to 8% each year. So, you know, if $13 million ain't really shit to the salary cap right now, think about after multiple years of not compound interest because it's not interest, but compounding 7 to 8% gain annually. It's going to be even more minimal money, and then you'll be able to spread it out over the last 2 years. So really a solid contract. It's not really that expensive. It is guaranteed for the next 2 years, so he will be on this team from 2026 to 27. After the 27 season, who knows what's going to happen with him? His play will dictate that. You know, he might get an extension before we get to 2028. He might get released, but this is a 2-year deal with an option year for 28 that will likely either be an extension, the first year of an extension, or they just cut bait and save some salary cap with them. So only really a 2-year commitment here before they have flexibility on what they could do with him. Solid contract all around. I'm not really tripping on this one and how it's set up. So that's the Zion Johnson contract for those of you who are wondering how it was going to be spread out. You know, you could put a lot of guarantees and a lot of that money does hit the player's bank account early. But remember, just because it hits the player's bank account doesn't mean it hits the Browns' salary cap, right? You can give them a lot of guaranteed money, but you can push the cap down the line, which again is why I've pointed out if the Browns wanted to, why I think the Browns are still in the market for a significant trade, because they cleared out that cap space early. You don't have to do that, right? Like that deal with Zion Johnson, it reads, they're giving him $13 million a year, but salary cap wise, all they needed to open up for this year is about $5 million. And they don't really have to become cap compliant with that money until the deal is actually signed, which will happen in 3 or 4 weeks. So the need to clear that money up before the league year started says to me that the Browns are looking for a trade, because that's the only reason they would clear that money up at that time versus later, because you don't have to do that with free agent signings. Even if you front load the deal with a bunch of guaranteed money, you can make that first year really cheap because you can just lower that base salary. You notice the Browns' base salaries are always the minimum, right? It's the guaranteed money that gets spread out over the next 5 to 7 years that they account for in the cap with different ways to maneuver it. So that's why I think the trade is something that they're looking at, because everything about how they structured this all season is gearing towards some kind of trade and then an extension for maybe for a wide receiver. I think the wide receiver move is going to happen via trade. That's where I'm at. But love this signing. This was a nice little surprise for me. I didn't think they would do this, but like this one. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great one. Peace.